Some men carry guns, others carry empires. Seung-jae carried something worse. Silence. The kind that eats through steel doors and bulletproof glass. The kind that sat beside him in every empty room of his mansion and whispered one truth he refused to hear. You let her go. He had stopped counting days, stopped looking at photographs, stopped allowing himself the luxury of memory. But the body remembers what the mind forbids. 3 years. 3 years of ruling Seoul's underworld with an iron fist that never trembled. 3 years of never saying her name aloud. 3 years of pretending the emptiness didn't have a shape, didn't have eyes, skin, a voice that once called him beloved in a language his blood still recognized. And now something had cracked. Not in the world around him, in him. Something that couldn't be fixed with money, violence, or control. Incheon International Airport smelled like jet fuel and expensive perfume. Seung-jae moved through Terminal 2 with the efficient silence of a man who had learned long ago that presence alone could command a room. His security team flanked him at a respectful distance, close enough to respond to threats, far enough not to invade the invisible perimeter he maintained around himself at all times. He had just returned from Tokyo. Another negotiation. Another treaty signed in blood that wasn't his. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. Hanbin, his second in command, matched his stride. The shipment cleared customs. No issues. Seung-jae nodded once. Words were currency. He spent them carefully. They were passing through the main concourse when it happened. Not a gunshot. Not an ambush. Something far more dangerous. A glimpse. His feet stopped moving before his brain registered the command. Hanbin halted immediately, hand moving instinctively toward his concealed weapon. Sir? But Seung-jae wasn't listening. 30 meters away, near Gate 47, a woman slept on 3 connected airport chairs, her body curved protectively around 2 small children. Her braids, intricate, beautiful, spilled over the armrest like dark water. Her face was turned away, but he knew the angle of her jaw, the slope of her shoulder, the way exhaustion settled into her bones like an old friend. His chest forgot how to expand. Handiwe. The name detonated silently in his skull. 3 years. 3 years of building walls so high that not even his own reflection could climb them. 3 years of converting grief into power, loss into legacy, love into a language he no longer spoke. And here she was, asleep in an airport like some kind of cosmic joke. Sir? Hanbin's voice carried concern now. Are you... Wait here. The command came out rougher than intended. Seung-jae moved forward without checking to see if Hanbin obeyed. His security team would follow protocol. They always did. His legs carried him closer. Each step felt like walking through wet concrete. She hadn't changed. No, that was a lie his eyes tried to tell his heart. She had changed. The softness in her face had hardened into something sharper, more resilient. Her clothes were clean but worn, practical, not fashionable. The kind of worn that spoke of too many washes, too many nights, too many battles fought alone. But it was her hands that stopped his breath. They were wrapped around 2 little girls. Twins. Identical. 3 years old, maybe. Perhaps 4. They weren't sleeping. They were watching him. Dark eyes. Impossibly dark. The kind of dark that held galaxies and secrets and truths that grown men spent lifetimes running from. One of them, the one on the left, had her thumb in her mouth. The other clutched a worn stuffed elephant that had seen better days. Neither blinked. Neither moved. They just watched. Like they knew him. Like they recognized something in him that he didn't even recognize in himself. Seung-jae's hand twitched toward his phone. Toward a weapon. Toward something. Anything that could restore the order that had just shattered like glass beneath his feet. The girl with the elephant tilted her head slightly. The gesture was so familiar it physically hurt. He used to do that. When he was thinking. When something didn't make sense. His mother had called it his puzzle face. No. The word screamed through his mind with the force of a bullet. No. 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 But the math was already happening. Cold. Brutal. Inescapable. 3 years since the divorce. 3 years since he had signed papers that felt like signing away his own heart. 3 years since she had walked out of his life with nothing but a suitcase and a silence so profound it had almost killed him. The girl on the right removed her thumb from her mouth. "Mama," she whispered. The sound was soft, barely audible over the airport announcements and the rolling of luggage and the 1,000 conversations happening in 10 different languages. But Sung-jae heard it like a scream. Thandiwi stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, the way they always had. Like waking was a negotiation she needed to win first. And then she saw him. Every muscle in her body went rigid. For 3 seconds, neither of them breathed. Then she sat up so fast one of the girls almost fell. Seung-jae, his name in her mouth, accent thick with shock, and something else. Something that sounded like fear and fury and grief all braided together into a rope strong enough to hang him with. Thandiwe. His voice came out steady, controlled, a lie his training allowed him to tell. She pulled both girls closer. Protective, instinctive. The twins didn't cry, didn't fuss. They just kept watching him with those impossible eyes. "What are you doing here?" Her English was flawless, always had been, but there was an edge to it now. A blade she'd sharpened on survival. Business. The word tasted like ash. "You?" She didn't answer immediately. Her gaze dropped to the girls, then back to him, calculating something, deciding something. "Connecting flight," she said finally. "We're leaving in 2 hours. Where to?" "None of your business." Fair. He deserved that and worse. Silence stretched between them like a wound that had never properly healed. The girl with the elephant tugged on Thandiwi's sleeve. "Mama." "Who?" "No one." Thandiwi cut her off gently but firmly. "Just no one, baby. No one." The words hit harder than any fist ever had. Seung-jae had been stabbed twice, shot once, beaten unconscious more times than he could count. This was worse, because she wasn't lying. To these girls, to these 2 small humans who carried half her DNA and possibly, impossibly half of his, he was no one. A stranger, less than a stranger, a ghost who had never existed. "They're beautiful," he heard himself say. Thandiwi's jaw tightened. Don't what? Don't do this. Don't stand there and..." She stopped, breathed, reset. "We're fine, you're fine. Let's just leave it at that." But he couldn't. Because the girl on the left, the one with the thumb-sucking habit, was staring at him with an expression he recognized from every mirror, every photograph, every accusation his father had ever thrown at him. Stubborn, unblinking, unwilling to look away first. She removed her thumb again. "You have my eyes," she said. Not a question, a statement. A fact delivered with the devastating simplicity of someone too young to understand the grenade she'd just thrown. Thandiwe went pale. Seung-jae stopped breathing. The airport continued around them, thousands of people rushing toward destinations, toward futures, toward lives that made sense. And in the middle of it all, a man who ruled an empire with fear and precision stood completely paralyzed by 2 3-year-old girls who might be carrying his blood. "Naledi," Thandiwi's voice was sharp. "Don't talk to strangers." "But Mama," I said no. The girl, Naledi, fell silent. But she didn't stop watching him. Neither did her sister. Seung-jae's phone buzzed again. Hanbin would be getting impatient. They had a meeting in 40 minutes. A territory dispute to resolve, a war to prevent. But his feet wouldn't move. "How old are they?" The question came out before he could stop it. Thandiwe stood slowly, gathering the girls with practiced efficiency. "Goodbye, Seung-jae." "Thandiwe?" I said goodbye. She turned away, guiding the twins toward the departure gates. But before they disappeared into the crowd, the girl with the elephant, the one who hadn't spoken yet, looked back over her shoulder and smiled. Small, sad, like she understood something about loss that no 3-year-old should ever have to understand. Then they were gone, swallowed by the sea of travelers, and Seung-jae stood there, surrounded by his security team and his empire and his carefully constructed walls, feeling like someone had reached into his chest and rearranged everything that had been holding him upright. Hanbin appeared at his elbow. "Sir, we need to move. Find out where that flight is going." "Sir?" "The woman. The 2 girls. Find out where they're going. Now." Hanbin didn't ask questions. He pulled out his phone and started making calls. Seung-jae watched the departure board flicker with destinations. Johannesburg, London, Dubai, New York. Somewhere in that list was the answer. Somewhere in that list was the truth he'd been running from for 3 years. And for the first time since he'd signed those divorce papers, since he'd let her walk away because he thought it was the right thing, the safe thing, the only thing, Seung-jae felt something crack open inside his chest. Not his heart. That had broken long ago. This was something worse. Hope. The meeting with the Busan Syndicate lasted 47 minutes. Seung-jae barely remembered a word of it. He sat at the head of the table in his private office on the 42nd floor, listening to men argue about shipping routes and territory percentages and respect, while his mind remained locked 30,000 feet below, in an airport concourse where 2 small girls had looked at him like they knew the shape of his soul. "And if we don't respond, they'll think we're weak. We're not responding with violence." Seung-jae cut through the argument without raising his voice. "We respond with economics. Double the tariff on their routes through Incheon. Make them bleed money, not blood." Silence. Then nods. His word was law. It always had been. The meeting ended. Men filed out with bows and promises, and fear politely concealed behind expensive suits. Only Hanbin remained. He closed the door, locked it. Then he placed a tablet on Seung-jae's desk. "Johannesburg," Hanbin said quietly. "Flight 284, departs in 90 minutes. 3 passengers. Thandiwe Nkosi, Naledi Nkosi, Amara Nkosi, Nkosi. Her maiden name." She'd taken it back, erased him completely. Seung-jae stared at the screen. Passenger manifests, flight details, a paper trail that confirmed what his heart already knew. She'd been here, in his city, in his country, and she'd been running. "Do we have surveillance footage from the airport?" His voice sounded distant, clinical. Hanbin hesitated. "Sir, are you sure you want—" "Show me." Another tablet appeared. Security footage. 4 different angles. Time-stamped 2 hours ago. He watched himself approach. Watched her wake. Watched the way she'd pulled those girls close like a shield made of flesh and bone. But it was the moments before, the moments when she'd been sleeping, that destroyed him. One of the girls had woken briefly. The one called Amara. She'd looked around with the disoriented confusion of a child in an unfamiliar place, then burrowed deeper into Thandiwe's arms like she was the only safe place left in the world. And Thandiwe, exhausted, broke, beautiful Thandiwe, had whispered something in her sleep. A name. Seung-jae rewound the footage, enhanced the audio. "Stay quiet, babies. Just a little longer. Mama's got you." The words were barely audible, spoken in exhaustion, in dreams, in the private language mothers use when they think no one is listening. But the translation was clear. She'd been protecting them. From what? From whom? The answer sat in his chest like a knife. From him. "There's more," Hanbin said carefully. "I pulled immigration records. She entered South Korea 6 days ago. Single entry visa, temporary. She's been staying at a hostel in Itaewon." "A hostel?" Seung-jae's hands flattened on the desk. "With 2 children? It's not a good area, sir." No, it wasn't. Itaewon had its luxury districts, but it also had its shadows. Places where people went to disappear, to hide, to survive day by day because planning for tomorrow was a luxury they couldn't afford. Why would she come here? The question was more for himself than Hanbin. Why come back to Korea? "I don't know, but sir," Hanbin's voice dropped lower, "I need to ask. Those girls, are they— I don't know. The timeline. I know the timeline. 3 years since the divorce. The twins looked 3. Maybe closer to 4. But 3 seemed right based on their size, their speech patterns, the way they moved. Which meant Thandiwe had been pregnant when she left. or had gotten pregnant immediately after. Both options felt like swallowing glass, because if she'd been pregnant when she left, she'd hidden it from him. Let him sign papers. Let him believe it was over. Let him spend 3 years building a life on a foundation of lies. And if she'd gotten pregnant immediately after, that option was somehow worse. Pull everything, Seung-jae said. Medical records, financial transactions, phone logs, everything from the last 4 years. Sir, that's legal or not? Hanbin met his eyes. Understood. I'll have it by morning. Tonight. Tonight. Hanbin agreed. He left. Seung-jae sat alone in his office, surrounded by bulletproof glass and cityscape views, and all the trappings of power that suddenly felt like a child's toys. Meaningless. Hollow. He opened his desk drawer, pulled out the one thing he'd never been able to throw away. A photograph, 4 years old, creased, worn from being folded and unfolded too many times. Their wedding day. Not the official one. The massive ceremony his family had demanded, with 500 guests and photographers and traditions older than memory.
Before you continue, if this story touched something in you, you should know this is only the beginning. The complete version includes 30 full audio stories, more than 30 hours of uninterrupted listening. No ads, no cuts, no distractions. Scan the QR code on your screen, or tap the link in the pinned comment to continue listening right now.
No, this was from before that. Just the two of them. City Hall. A Tuesday afternoon. She'd worn a white dress she'd bought at a thrift store. He'd worn the only suit he owned that didn't have bloodstains. They'd been so young, so stupid, so convinced that love was enough. She was laughing in the photo, head thrown back, braids catching sunlight. Her hand in his, fingers interlaced like they were afraid to let go. He'd been looking at her, not at the camera, at her, like she was the only thing in the world worth seeing. Seung-jae traced the edge of the photograph with his thumb. When had it gone wrong? When had the empire he'd built to protect her become the thing that drove her away? He remembered the fights, not the screaming kind. Thandiwi didn't scream. She got quiet, dangerously quiet. The kind of quiet that meant she was calculating exit strategies and survival plans, and all the ways to leave without leaving a forwarding address. You're choosing them over me, she'd said once. Over us. I'm choosing to keep you safe, he'd replied. I don't need safe. I need you. But he hadn't listened. Because in his world, in the world of blood and debt, and men who smiled while planning your funeral, safety was the only currency that mattered. So he'd pulled away, spent more time in meetings, more time with his lieutenants, more time building walls around her so high that she couldn't see the sky anymore. And one day, she'd packed a bag. I'm done, she'd said. Done with what? Being married to a ghost. He could have stopped her, should have, but he'd been too proud, too convinced that she'd come back, that she'd realize he was right. That safety mattered more than presence. She never came back. The divorce papers arrived 3 months later. He'd signed them drunk, woke up sober and broken, and spent 3 years pretending neither mattered. His phone buzzed. A message from Hanbin. Preliminary records pulled. You need to see this. Seung-jae closed the photograph, slid it back into the drawer. Hanbin entered without knocking, a privilege reserved for emergencies. He wasn't alone. Dr. Yi, the family physician who'd patched up more bullet wounds than any hospital in Seoul, followed him in, looking uncomfortable. Tell him, Hanbin said. Dr. Yi cleared his throat. I pulled the medical records you requested. From Thandiwin Kosi. It took some. Creative access, but just tell me. She gave birth 3 years and 4 months ago. Johannesburg General Hospital. Twin girls. Premature by 6 weeks. Both healthy despite complications. She listed no father on the birth certificates. The words landed like bullets. 3 years and 4 months ago. Seung-jae did the math, subtracted 9 months, landed exactly 2 weeks before she'd filed for divorce. She was pregnant, he said, when she left. Yes, she knew. Almost certainly, The room tilted slightly. Not the room. Him. There's more, Dr. Yi continued. I compared the girl's medical records with the DNA database we keep for family security purposes. It's not definitive without a direct paternity test, but based on blood type, genetic markers, and... Are they mine? Silence. Dr. Yi looked at Hanbin. Hanbin looked at Seungjae. 97% probability, Dr. Yi said finally. Based on available data. 97%, not 100, but close enough to shatter every wall he'd built in the last 3 years. She hid them. The words came out flat, emotionless, the only way he could say them without screaming. She was carrying my children and she hid them from me. We don't know her reasons, Hanbin started. I don't care about her reasons. Seungjae stood, paced, felt the rage building like water behind a dam. She had no right. Those girls, if they're mine, I had a right to know. Did you? Dr. Yi's voice was soft. I'm sorry, sir, but did you? Given the circumstances of your life? The dangers, the enemies. Seungjae turned on him. You think I wouldn't have protected them? I think she thought you'd consume them. Dr. Yi held his ground. The way this life consumes everything. Truth, brutal, unwanted, undeniable. Seungjae sank back into his chair. Flight 2A4 leaves in 40 minutes, Hanbin said quietly. If you want to stop her? No, sir. Let her go. But I said let her go. Seungjae's voice carried the weight of command. Assign someone to track the flight. Have eyes at the Johannesburg airport. I want to know where she lives, where she works, who she talks to. But do not, under any circumstances, approach her. Hanbin nodded slowly. And then? Then we wait. For what? Good question. Seungjae looked at the photograph still visible at the edge of his drawer. For me to figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do with the fact that I'm apparently a father to 2 daughters I've never met. The words tasted like poison and hope mixed together. Dr. Yi and Hanbin exchanged glances. I'll coordinate surveillance, Hanbin said. I'll run a full genetic comparison once we can get samples, Dr. Yi added, discreetly. They left. Seungjae sat alone in his empire, surrounded by power, drowning in silence. And for the first time in 3 years, he let himself imagine a different life. One where 2 little girls with his eyes called him something other than a stranger. One where Thandiwe looked at him without fear. One where he wasn't no one. But the imagination died quickly. Because men like him didn't get different lives. They got the ones they deserved. The surveillance footage arrived at 3:47 a.m. Seungjae hadn't slept. He sat in his home office, a room designed for control, with monitors displaying security feeds from 17 properties across Seoul, watching grainy airport footage on repeat like a man possessed. Frame by frame, second by second, searching for proof of something he already knew but couldn't accept. His phone buzzed. Hanbin's name flashed across the screen. They landed 2 hours ago, Hanbin said without preamble. Johannesburg, OR Tambo International. Took a taxi to Yeovil. Apartment building on Rocky Street. 4th floor, no security. Bars on the windows. Bars on the windows. His daughters, if they were his daughters, were living behind bars. Send me the address. Already done. But sir, what exactly are we doing here? Good question. What were they doing? Seungjae looked at the wall of monitors. His empire, laid out in high definition. Every entry point covered. Every threat cataloged. Every variable controlled. Except this one. Except her. Except them. I need to know, he said finally. Know what? Everything. Silence on the line. Then, sir, with all respect, this feels like we're crossing a line. We crossed lines the moment we pulled her medical records without consent. That was information gathering. This is necessary. Seungjae's voice hardened. I have a right to know if those children are mine. And if they are? He didn't have an answer for that. Not yet. Get me eyes on the apartment, Seungjae said. Discreet, professional. I want to know her routine. Where she works, where the girls go, who she talks to. This is surveillance, sir, of your ex-wife and 2 children. I'm aware. Are you? Because this isn't business. This isn't strategy. This is... I said get me eyes on the apartment. The command came out cold. Final. The voice he used when men needed to remember who gave the orders. Hanbin went quiet. Then, it'll take 48 hours to establish proper coverage without detection. 24. Sir, 24 hours, Hanbin, or I'll send someone who can. The line went dead. Sung-jae set the phone down, hands steadier than they should have been. He was doing the right thing. Had to be. A man had a right to know if he was a father. Had a right to know if 2 little girls carrying his DNA were living in a 4th-floor apartment with bars on the windows in a neighborhood that Google Maps flagged as high crime. This wasn't about control. This was about responsibility, protection. The same justification he'd used 3 years ago, when he'd put security on Thandiwi without telling her, when he'd tracked her phone, when he'd vetted every friend she made, every place she visited, every decision she tried to make alone. The same justification that had driven her away. His computer pinged. An email from Dr. Yi. Subject line, genetic analysis, preliminary. Sung-jae opened it with hands that had steadied empires, but now trembled over a keyboard. The report was technical, clinical. Pages of data that translated into one simple truth, based on available medical records and genetic markers from hospital databases. Probability of paternity, 94. 7%. Not 100%, but close enough. Close enough to know. Close enough to break something inside him that had been holding together with spit and willpower for 3 years. He had daughters, 2 of them, 3 years old, named Naliti and Amara, living in Johannesburg with a mother who had decided he didn't deserve to know they existed. The rage came slowly, not the hot kind, not the kind that made men stupid, the cold kind, the kind that calcified into decision. Thandiwi had made a choice to hide his children, to rob him of 3 years he could never get back. First words, first steps, first everything. She'd made that choice. Now he'd make his. The first report arrived 16 hours later. Hanbin delivered it personally. A tablet loaded with photographs, video clips, and detailed observations that would have made any intelligence agency proud. She works at a clinic, Hanbin said, standing at parade rest in front of Sung-jae's desk. Community health center in Yeovil, 3 days a week. The twins go to a daycare 2 blocks from the apartment. Subsidized. The teachers are. Adequate. Adequate. The word tasted like failure. Sung-jae scrolled through the photographs. Thandiwi leaving the apartment building at 7:15 a.m., twins in hand. She looked tired. More than tired. Exhausted in a way that came from too many nights choosing between rent and food, between medicine and electricity. Another photo, the girls at daycare, playing in a courtyard with broken concrete and a rusted swing set that looked like a lawsuit waiting to happen. Another, Thandiwi at the clinic, wearing scrubs that had been washed so many times the color had faded to almost nothing, smiling at a patient. That same smile she used to give him when he came home bleeding, and she'd patch him up while telling him he was an idiot. She's struggling, Hanbin said quietly. The apartment rent is 3 months overdue. She's been selling belongings to cover expenses. The clinic doesn't pay much. How much? Barely above minimum wage. Sung-jae's jaw tightened. She'd left him. Left an empire, left security, left everything for this? For a 4th-floor walk-up with bars on the windows and a paycheck that couldn't cover rent. There's more, Hanbin continued. She came to Korea looking for work, applied to 4 hospitals, all rejected her. Visa complications. What kind of complications? The kind that happen when your ex-husband's family has connections in immigration services. The words hung in the air like an accusation. Sung-jae's mother. Of course. She'd never approved of Thandiwi. Had made that clear from day one. And when the divorce happened, she'd probably made sure every door in Korea slammed shut. So she came here desperate, Sung-jae said slowly. Couldn't find work, ran out of money, had to go back to Johannesburg. That's the assessment. He scrolled to another photo. The twins, walking hand in hand behind their mother. wearing clothes that were clean but didn't quite fit, shoes that had been repaired with duct tape. His daughters, wearing duct-taped shoes, while he sat in an office worth more than some country's GDP. The rage crystallized into something sharper, not at Thandiwe, at himself, because if he'd known, if she'd told him, none of this would be happening. Those girls would be wearing shoes that fit, living in a place without bars on the windows, going to schools where the swing sets weren't rusted death traps. "Get me a financial profile," Seung-jae said. "Every debt, every bill, every creditor." "Sir, and I want options, legal options, for custody, for visitation, for..." He stopped, breathed. "Just get me options." Hanbin didn't move. "That's an order," Seung-jae added. "I know it is. But I'm asking you to think about what you're doing." "I'm thinking about my daughters." "Are you? Or are you thinking about control?" The question hit like a knife between ribs. Seung-jae looked up, met Hanbin's eyes, saw something there he hadn't seen in 15 years of loyalty, disappointment. "You don't understand," Seung-jae said.
If you stayed until the end, it's because this story stayed with you. What you heard here is just a fragment. The full experience lives in 30 complete audio stories, carefully told with every emotion, every secret, and every moment that couldn't be shared on YouTube. There are no ads, no interruptions, and you can listen anytime, anywhere, in total privacy. Scan the QR code on your screen now, or tap the link in the pinned comment, and discover what was never said.
"I understand that you're about to do exactly what drove her away the first time, controlling her life, making decisions for her, deciding what's best without asking what she wants. She's struggling. The girls are her girls, her choice, her life. They're my girls too. Are they?" Hanbin's voice was quiet, careful, because from where I'm standing, you're a stranger who happened to share DNA. Being a father takes more than genetics. Truth, brutal, undeniable. Seung-jae stood, walked to the window, looked out over Seoul, his city, his empire, his kingdom built on blood and will. "I missed 3 years," he said. "I don't intend to miss more." Then talk to her, like a human being, not a target. And say what? "Sorry I didn't know you were pregnant because you never told me." Or, "Sorry I was so consumed with being powerful that I forgot how to be present." The words landed like bullets. Seung-jae turned. Hanbin held his ground. "Get me the financial profile," Seung-jae said coldly. "Get me the legal options, and get me daily reports on their movements, their health, their safety. That's not a request." Hanbin's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "One more thing," Seung-jae added. "I want DNA samples, from both girls, properly tested. I need certainty." "How do you expect to?" "I don't care how. Make it happen." Silence. Then Hanbin turned and left without another word. Seung-jae stood alone in his office, surrounded by monitors and power, and all the things that were supposed to matter. He pulled out his phone, opened a secure folder. Inside, 47 photographs taken over the last 16 hours. Thandiwe laughing with a coworker. Naledi and Amara playing in that broken courtyard. The 3 of them eating dinner in their small apartment. Rice and vegetables. Nothing else. Thandiwe tucking the girls into bed, reading from a worn book. The twins asleep, curled together like quotation marks. Every photograph was an invasion. Every image was a violation of privacy. Every frame was proof that he was becoming exactly what Hanbin had accused him of being. A man who controlled instead of connected, who surveilled instead of spoke, who took instead of asked. But he couldn't stop. Because somewhere in those photographs was the answer to a question that had been eating him alive for 3 years. Had she ever loved him? Or had he always been exactly what she'd called him the day she left? A ghost. His phone buzzed. Another report. Another violation. Another step across a line he couldn't uncross. Seung-jae opened it anyway. Because that's what ghosts did. They haunted. And he was very, very good at it. If we hit 15 comments and 3,000 views today, we'll release episode 02. Comment. Should Seung-jae go to Johannesburg and confront Thandiwe? Or is he right to investigate first? What do you think will happen when he discovers the complete truth? Leave your theories in the comments.